Thursday evening, Mom's dining room. Chicken parmesan, Caesar salad, the usual gathering before Dad's birthday weekend. My brother Ryan walked in at 7 with a leather portfolio and the confident smile he wore when he thought he'd done something impressive. Big announcement, he said, setting the portfolio between the breadbasket and Mom's wine glass. I closed a deal today that's going to change everything. The medical startup I've been developing, CardioPulse, just secured funding. We're manufacturing AI diagnostic devices that will revolutionize cardiac care. Dad looked up from his plate. That's fantastic, son. How'd you manage the funding? Sold the Cape Cod estate. Got $2.1 million all cash. Closing is tomorrow at noon. He opened the portfolio showing purchase agreements with signatures and dates. The buyer is some hedge fund manager from Boston. Desperate for beachfront property. I negotiated hard, started at $1.9 million, got him up to $2.1 million. I set down my fork carefully. What Cape Cod estate? Ours. The Wellfleet property. Grandpa's old place. Ryan pulled out a survey map. 8 acres, 200 feet of beach frontage, the main house plus guest cottage. I found the deed in Dad's office safe. Joint ownership, both our names. Ryan. Kept my voice level. That property isn't jointly owned. It's mine. Sole ownership transferred to me when Grandpa died. He laughed. The deed says otherwise. I've got it right here. Recorded 1987 shows Grandpa leaving it to both of us equally. I even had a real estate attorney verify it before listing. Then your attorney missed something critical. When Grandpa died in 2019, his will specified the property went to me. It was probated, legally transferred, recorded with Barnstable County. I have the documents. Well, the original deed supersedes that. And I've already accepted the offer, signed contracts, deposited the earnest money. Movers are coming Saturday to clear out the furniture. He slid a paper across the table. Your signature is right there on the purchase agreement. I looked at it. My signature, Dr. Alexandra Chin, with the distinctive underscore I always added. Except I'd never seen this document before in my life. That's forged. Mom set down her wine glass with a sharp clink. Alex, don't start. Ryan has been working so hard on this startup. This funding will save lives. You can't sabotage that. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm stating a fact. Ryan forged my signature to sell property he doesn't own. It's a family property, Dad said firmly. Grandpa would have wanted it to benefit both of you. Ryan needs this money for something meaningful, medical innovation. You just use it as a vacation house twice a year. What I use it for is irrelevant. It's my property. Ryan had no right to sell it. Ryan leaned back, smile still in place. The title company cleared everything. Escrow is funded. The buyer's attorney reviewed all the documents. If there was a problem, they would have caught it. But they didn't because everything is legally sound. Which title company? Coastal Massachusetts Title. They handle all the premium properties on the Cape. I stood grabbing my purse. I need to make a call. The title company, 25% mark. I called from my car. Got transferred twice before reaching the company president. A man named Thomas Aldrich whose voice had that distinct Boston accent that meant old money and careful business practices. Ms. Chin? What can I do for you? Mr. Aldrich, I'm calling about a property in Wellfleet that my brother apparently sold through your company. The closing is scheduled for tomorrow. I need to know if you verified ownership. What's the property address? I gave it to him. Heard typing, then a long pause. I see the file. Opened by Ryan Chin 3 weeks ago. He presented a deed from 1987 showing joint ownership between Ryan Chin and Alexandra Chin. More typing. But something's not right here. What do you mean? Your name is showing up in our federal database alerts. Let me pull that up. Pause. Dr. Chin, are you a federal employee? Yes. I'm a supervisory special agent with the FBI's Healthcare Fraud Unit. Longer pause. And the property in question. It's registered in a federal employee asset disclosure database. Sole ownership Dr. Alexandra Chin. Acquired through inheritance 2019. No co-owners listed. That's correct. Dr. Chin, your brother presented documents showing joint ownership and a forged signature on the purchase agreement. This isn't just real estate fraud. This is fraud involving a federal employee's assets. That's a whole different level of legal problem. What happens now? I'm calling the buyer immediately to cancel the closing. The earnest money will be returned. And Dr. Chin, I'm required to report this. Fraud involving federal employees triggers mandatory reporting to the FBI. I assume you want me to proceed through official channels. Yes. Do everything by the book. Understood. Your property is completely protected. No closing will occur tomorrow or any other day without your explicit, verified authorization. I thanked him and sat in the car for a moment watching the evening traffic. Then I drove back inside. The confrontation, 42% mark. Ryan was on his second glass of wine when I returned, laughing about something Dad had said. He looked up still confident. All good. I just spoke with Thomas Aldrich at Coastal Massachusetts Title. He's canceling tomorrow's closing. The buyer is getting his deposit back. And Mr. Aldrich is filing a mandatory fraud report with the FBI. The wine glass stopped halfway to his mouth. What? The property is in my name only. Has been since 2019 when Grandpa's will was probated. You presented fraudulent ownership documents and forged my signature. And because I'm a federal employee, that elevates it beyond ordinary real estate fraud. You committed a federal crime, Ryan. I didn't forge anything. Thomas has my signature on file from federal employee asset disclosures. He compared them. Yours doesn't match. You probably practiced from old documents, but federal databases don't accept approximations. Mom stood abruptly. Alex, this is ridiculous. Can't you just authorize the sale now? The buyer has already committed. The buyer committed based on fraudulent information. Ryan told him we jointly owned the property. We don't. Ryan doesn't own any part of it. I do. Sole ownership, legally documented, federally registered. But Ryan's startup, Mom pleaded. He's been working on this for 2 years. CardioPulse will help people with heart conditions. You're going to destroy that over a vacation house. I'm going to protect my property from theft. What Ryan chooses to do with his startup is his problem, not mine. Dad's voice went cold. You're really going to let your brother's dream die over technicalities? They're not technicalities, Dad. They're felonies. Ryan forged federal documents to steal $2.1 million worth of property. That's not a technicality. That's a crime that carries 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Ryan slammed his glass down. I need this funding. Do you have any idea how much I've invested in CardioPulse? 2 years of development, $180,000 of my own money, partnerships with hospitals ready to test the device. This sale was supposed to fund manufacturing. Without it, the whole company collapses. Then you should have found legal funding. Investors, loans, grants, anything except stealing my property. You don't even use it. Twice a year you go there for a weekend. The rest of the time it sits empty while I'm trying to build something that matters. What I do with my property is my decision. You don't get to steal it because you think your use is more important. I'm your brother. You're a thief who happens to be related to me. There's a difference. I grabbed my coat and walked out. Behind me, Mom was crying and Dad was yelling something about family betrayal. I didn't turn around. The investigation, 58% mark. The FBI's Boston field office called me Friday morning. I was in my own office in Washington, D.C. when the call came through. Protocol when the victim of fraud is also a federal agent. Agent Chin, this is ASAC Morrison from the Boston office. We received a fraud report from Coastal Massachusetts Title regarding your brother's attempted sale of your property. I'm calling as a courtesy since you're one of ours. I appreciate that. We've reviewed the documents. Your brother presented a 1987 deed that was superseded by your grandfather's 2019 will. He forged your signature on multiple documents. He accepted $210,000 in earnest money into an escrow account. That money crossed state lines. The buyer wired it from a New York bank. That makes it wire fraud under federal jurisdiction. What's the timeline? We'll coordinate with the Massachusetts State Police and the District Attorney's Office. Given the amount, over $2 million, and the federal employee component, this will be prosecuted federally. Your brother is looking at wire fraud, identity theft, and fraud involving federal programs. Sentencing guidelines suggest 3 to 5 years, possibly more depending on his criminal history. He doesn't have one. This is his first offense as far as I know. That'll help him. But Agent Chin, I need to ask, do you want to proceed with prosecution? You have the option to decline. I thought about Ryan's confident smile. His certainty that family would protect him. His assumption that I'd sacrifice my property for his startup dream. Proceed with full prosecution. Understood. We'll be in touch. The family pressure. 70% mark. Mom showed up at my DC apartment Saturday evening. She must have driven 5 hours from Massachusetts, because she looked exhausted and her eyes were red from crying. Alex, please. You have to stop this. The FBI came to our house. They took Ryan's laptop, his phone, boxes of documents. They're treating him like a criminal. He's a criminal, Mom. He committed wire fraud. He made a mistake. He planned this for weeks. Found the old deed, forged my signature, listed the property, negotiated with a buyer, accepted money. Those aren't mistakes. That's calculated fraud. He was desperate. CardioPulse is his life's work. He believed in it so much. Then he should have found legitimate investors. Not stolen my property to fund his dream. You work for the FBI. Can't you just tell them to drop it? You have influence. I have zero influence over my own case. The moment I became the victim, I was recused from any involvement. And even if I could influence it, I wouldn't. Ryan broke the law. He grabbed my hands. He's your brother. Your only sibling. If he goes to prison, it'll destroy him. He'll lose everything, his startup, his reputation, his future. Is that really what you want? I want him to face consequences for stealing from me. What those consequences are isn't my decision. It's the justice system's. You've always been so rigid. So focused on rules and procedures. Can't you show some compassion? Some humanity? Ryan showed no compassion when he forged my signature. No humanity when he tried to steal $2.1 million from me. He treated me like an obstacle to his funding, not his sister. Why should I treat him better than he treated me? She couldn't answer. Just left crying. The plea deal 80% mark. Ryan's attorney called me in September. Court appointed, overworked, trying to negotiate the best deal possible. Agent Chin, your brother wants to take a plea. The prosecutor is offering 3 years with credit for cooperation. He'd serve probably 20 months with good behavior. What cooperation? He's providing information about a medical equipment fraud scheme he discovered while trying to fund CardioPulse. Apparently some of the investors he approached were involved in fraudulent medical device sales. It's unrelated to your case but valuable to the healthcare fraud unit. My unit. Ryan was providing evidence to my own division. That's his choice. He also wanted me to ask, would you be willing to provide a victim impact statement supporting leniency? No. Agent Chin, he's your brother. He's a criminal who stole from me. I won't ask for leniency. He earned every day of that sentence. The attorney sighed. Understood. I'll inform him. Ryan took the plea deal in October. 3 years federal prison, 3 years supervised release, $2.1 million restitution representing the property value he attempted to steal. The judge was a woman in her 60s who'd clearly seen too many family fraud cases. Mr. Chin, you targeted your own sister, a federal law enforcement officer, for personal financial gain. You showed no remorse until you were caught. You endangered her property rights and federal integrity. This court finds your actions reprehensible. 3 years imprisonment. Report to FCI Devons within 30 days. Ryan looked back at the gallery. Found me in the back row. The hatred in his eyes was pure and absolute. I didn't look away. Epilogue 6 months later. 94% mark. I visited the Cape Cod estate in April. First time since the arrest. The property was exactly as I'd left it. Weathered shingles, beach roses climbing the fence, the ocean view that made mornings feel infinite. I walked the beach at sunrise, coffee in hand, thinking about Ryan's letter from prison. He'd sent it last week. Alex, I've had time to think. My therapist says I need to take accountability. So here it is. I'm sorry I took your property documents. I'm sorry I forged your signature. But I'm not sorry I tried. CardioPulse could have saved lives. That mattered more than property lines and legal technicalities. You chose paperwork over people's health. I hope you can live with that. Not an apology. A justification. Even from prison, Ryan couldn't acknowledge that stealing was wrong regardless of his noble intentions. I'd responded with one sentence: "Your ends didn't justify your means. They never do." My phone buzzed. Email from my supervisor. Chin Ryan's cooperation led to arrests of 3 medical equipment fraudsters. Good intel. Thought you should know. So Ryan's information was valuable. My unit had made arrests because of him. And he'd still go to prison for stealing from me because good deeds don't erase crimes. I finished my coffee and walked back to the house. The estate was worth $2.4 million now. Cape property values had climbed. Ryan had been willing to sell it for $2.1 million to fund a startup that might have failed anyway. My property. My choice. My rules. Grandpa had left it to me for a reason, because I'd spent summers with him, learned about tides and ecosystems, cared about the land itself rather than its cash value. Ryan had seen it as an asset to liquidate. The difference between us in one simple contrast. I'd protect it until I died. Then it would go to a land trust, preserved as coastal habitat forever. No one would ever sell it, especially not family.